All right. Hello, welcome to the Matt Chat podcast. This is Simpei Tommy Arvo, and
Shihan Cruzman.
By the way, the music that I'm planning on using for this one is actually going to be from one of our students here from our Street Smart Self-Defense, Brian Klinger. So, awesome. Thank you, Brian, for the music. That was awesome.
Thank you, Brian.
So, the thing that we were trying to hit on for the Matt Chat this week is we were talking about the 6 principles of a black belt. And I know we were just talking, of course, our little pre-talk beforehand about talking about our ICANN training center. And I don't know if you had something that you kind of wanted to go with that a little bit.
Yeah, so, here at Life Systems Martial Arts, we've had a lot of different personal development programs that we utilize, but, we are now currently in an official ICANN training center, and for ones who know Zig Ziglar, he's the one that developed that program years ago. Unfortunately, Zig Ziglar's not with us today, but he's a very powerful speaker, motivator, and I've been fortunate to have connections to be part of this training center. So as far as I know, Tommy, we're the only training center around here of a martial arts school.
Sweet.
With this, so it's pretty cool, and as Simpei Arvo said, we're going to be talking about our principles of black belt and how we utilize that in our dojo and, of course, outside of the dojo.
If I'm right about it, too, it's like this month is like the first 3 or something like that, right? Is it next month's the next 3?
Yeah, we're breaking it down. First 3, we talk about that with our students and how we can implement it, with our students. Remember, martial arts is beyond the cliche, it's more than punching and kicking, but it really is. It's really true. We want to make sure that we give more value and martial arts without any kind of principles, which that's something I want to hit on, is a principle.
Yeah.
Without any kind of principles, it just becomes a fighting system, and I don't think parents come seek us out for things like that. In fact, I know that.
Right.
I've asked parents many times, so we want to make sure we give them, the most important, which is the personal development.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think that's probably I think not even just parents, but it's speaking of Brian, sorry to put you out there, Brian, I know that's one reason why he said he came here was, to build up his confidence. I think even adults, we need it. I think everybody kind of needs it, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, talking about the 6 principles, I know for theirs is a little bit different from ours, but just before the podcast, we were doing our little pre-talk, and I know it is kind of funny how pretty much all the martial arts schools are almost the same in that way, or at least the principles that they seem to have are very similar.
Correct.
I think theirs, ours is honesty, humility as we start, but theirs is modesty as they start. And I think it all pretty much goes hand in hand anyways.
Same difference, right?
Right. And I want to say, what is it? So it'd be for theirs, modesty, courtesy, and integrity would be the first 3.
Right.
Right. I don't know. How do we use that? How do we apply those principles to our school, or at least even just modesty or humility?
Well, modesty is another word for humility,
right?
As we explain it to our students. And, let's talk about principles. Principles are a set of behavior, beliefs, what is right and wrong. And we want to make sure we set those principles. When we do these principles, we don't want to just become words for our students,
right.
Even for us, right? And yeah, we might have heard these, words, not everyone, but, modesty, humility, courtesy. Those are some basic core principles, right? And I think there's good solid principles that we need to live by. And that's what we want our students to do, or encourage at least for our students to have these principles. So we always say, the 3 areas that you can use this, or at least 3 basic areas, is, of course, the dojo, at school, at least for a child, school, and at home. Now, of course, if you're an adult here, well, then it'll be work.
Yeah.
Unless you're in school, or that'd be 4 areas. But no, this, we say humility. Well, same as modesty. Of course, we do have courtesy and integrity, which this week we're talking about during this week here, this live podcast we're on right now. We're talking about integrity.
Yeah.
Right. But we've already talked about modesty or humility and courtesy. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. As more than anything
Okay.
else, I think it's just kind of just hitting on our topics a little bit, and just kind of just nailing down how we go about it. Like during the Mat chat today, we were hitting like we were just saying, is that integrity. It's one thing for like even us as martial artists. I feel like we do the Mat chats and we talk about it and stuff, but it's also just as, if not more important, that we're also like doing those things, because then we would be honest, right?
That's right.
That would be
a hypocrite.
That would be against our integrity, and like that's something that I think about. I try to think about a lot, and I'm not. That's one thing I told the students is, especially for intermediate advanced today. They did pretty well today for them. They did well today, but they typically will give their A game when they're here on the mat and working out and stuff. Do we do that after? I don't know. Like I'm hoping so. But I might not be the exact same person I'm on the mat that I would out there, but I still have those same principles when I'm out there. You know what I mean? I still try to act those ways.
Well, that's showing integrity.
Yeah.
That's our last one we're talking about this month.
Yeah. But I know you just pulled up the modesty on here.
Yeah. Pull up modesty here because that's the first week we talked about. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to explain too much what each one means. I'm sure you guys know what that means, but I think it's important that we don't take this for granted. Sometimes as adults we may take this for granted and like, okay, yeah, I know what modesty is, but do we really live it? Do we really live it and express it? Mm-hmm. And with me being, you're not a dad yet. Maybe that's in the future, but I know I'm a dad of 3 kids, and but I always call the kids here my dojo kids, right? And I really truly feel that way. I have an investment in my students. I have an obligation or a purpose to instill these principles, as we refer to as, and teach our students. To be the best version. I think that's the word you used today. So in your Mat chat, the best version of yourself, and it's really important to show modesty and humility. Again, like I said, on the dojo and outside of the dojo, and be a good representative, not just for the dojo, but ultimately for yourself.
Yeah.
That's what students. We want them to really live by it. And I tell you what, when I get stories from parents about how their kid is doing this and that, and how they're really utilizing these principles, things that we teach, man, now I know my why. I know why I do what I do.
We had that recently. So that was really cool.
Yeah. Well, even one of my kickboxing adult mentioned about some things that I've taught in kickboxing and has worked out for her clients.
That's awesome.
She told me that today. So had a little de-escalation issue and it worked. So I was like, yeah, I know, we're doing the principles that we teach here. So it goes into my kickboxing class, in a way. So it's pretty cool to see that, Mm-hmm. But yeah, we talked about modesty and being humble. As it says it right here, be humble.
I guess I was just thinking I'm thinking of like the workplace especially. I think a lot of people try to prove themselves too much in the workplace. At least this is something that I felt is that. I think there's a sense of ego that I felt before where, I don't know where that comes from. Maybe it's a sense of anxiety of just like feeling like I have to prove myself or something like that. But I think it's like really important to, like here it says, modest people, they don't brag, they don't boast, you just have kindness just for the sake of being kind, and not trying to think of ulterior motives.
Right.
I think that's just something important to remember. Because
what's in it for me, right?
I think a lot of us can kind of get that almost selfishness, like, well, how's that help me? Well, maybe we try to be good to each other just so we're good to each other. It just kind of makes everything else better, try to be the change that you want to be, But no, I like that.
Well, and I think that it shows your true colors. People see through that, if you just be genuine and real and authentic, people will read into that. They'll know, because how it is. Trust can be broken so quickly.
Right.
It takes years to develop back if you break trust. And just be a modest, humble person. Yeah, we all have egos, but I think there's different levels of it, and how we use it. But yeah, modesty or humility is one of our principles, which leads into the other ones we're talking about courtesy.
No, I was thinking exactly just that. I know, in class today, where I was trying to tell like the students, like, and I say tell, but that's exactly what I was trying to kind of avoid. Is like I was telling like Gabe and all them, like, you know, like we shouldn't like be trying to like have integrity, be courteous, all these things, just because Shihan and me and your parents and adults keep telling you to.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, that's not the vibe I want to give off. It's more like, man, just do it because it's gonna make you feel better.
Because you really want it.
Because you want to do it, right? And that's the hardest part. And like I was saying, like the hardest part about being an instructor is not really just trying to teach and all that, but we were saying is like it's trying to inspire.
Right.
Like it's not me doing it; it's you doing it. You did it, right? Today I felt good about what they did today. We were doing the kicks, and I saw real progress today.
Yeah.
Especially with, I mean, we were all, I had my
they were
own
really
small
having
group.
fun and working hard.
I saw real progress with them today, for real. I'm going to point out Walker especially, you know, in class. I know I'm sorry to talk about you guys on camera here, but it's like, you know, like, but I saw some real progress with those students today. Like tornado kicks looked really good.
As an instructor, it makes you happy.
It does, man. It makes me feel good. But that's the thing, right? It's like, I'm just there to give tools, but they're the ones putting work into it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, we can't do it for them. We can only encourage them and give them the tools. You know.
And it's all like, and I know we're talking about courtesy, and you know we're talking about supporting your teammates. And at first, like I could hear someone kind of joking around, like, "Oh yeah, give it your best." And then like, but slowly, like as like the vibe changed in class, I started seeing them actually meaning it. Like, "No, come on, good job. You're doing a good job. Like that was a good kick. That's a good kick."
Make
you know,
it more
like,
genuine.
Yeah, it's starting to become genuine, and I think that's, again, that's a problem. I think like as an adult, like as a teacher, sometimes it's like you should just be nicer. You should just, you know, be genuine, but it's like you can't just be genuine. You have to be you.
It's come natural.
You feel genuine, right? You. It just comes from yourself. You know, you decide. You know, the students have to decide for themselves. You know, and that's the hardest part to teach. Right? How we guide them there to want to be genuine, to want to be someone to inspire. You know, to be that.
Right. And I guess through our actions, you know, as instructors, we have to. I guess one way to teach it is through our actions. You know, those people are watching.
Yeah.
You know, they're watching us, you know. And if we're, you know, here's one thing we tell our students, okay, yeah, be courteous, be modest. But yet we're out there not doing it.
Right.
You know, or we're not showing on the mat. So I think that has a lot to do with it. We have to be the role models. You know, an example for sure.
Well, today that's why. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
I was just saying, like, today that's why I like just being on the mat with them, both for basic and intermediate advanced. I like just being right next to Mo and just working out next to him, just like nothing's different between you and me. You know what I mean? Same thing with the group when I was in Walker's group, Pablo and Gage actually. I keep mixing those two up. Gage and Gabe, their names are close, but I like to just be there as a student, you know, and hopefully be an example.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I want to do that more, you know, and that's what I'm
no better than you. I'm just a student like you.
Exactly. And the only difference is I'm going to try to be the first one to say yes, sir, and one knee, and all those things.
That's showing courtesy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to, and I think like that's one thing I'm trying to do. I want to do more of it. Like last Thursday I did that, and some of our students who have been having struggles, I tried letting Maria and Nick take over a little bit, but then myself jump in as a student.
Right.
Because I know I tell them I'm no better than you.
Right.
I got to show them that I'm not.
Right.
I got to be there with them.
Right.
And hopefully in me being in class with them and trying to do it my best, hopefully like shows the example of what I'm looking for too.
Right.
You know, inadvertently. Like, okay, so Senpei's doing it like that. Hopefully that's a good example. You know, that's my thought. I wouldn't be doing it otherwise if I didn't think it was.
Right.
So
teach through our actions.
Right.
And how we communicate it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you know, I agree with you. It's like I said, we talk about these principles constantly. I mean, from day one, they come in, they learn this, but then it does become mundane. You know, it becomes repetitive. They just get old. You know, we want to make sure. And I really like that we're hitting on this topic. You know, for the next 2 months is our principles.
I'm glad it's 2 months. Gosh, we need to spend time talking.
2 months talking about our principles. So it's just really came out a good time, and you know, we got some new people coming in the door, and you know, and those, you know, they're all important to us. But when they're coming in as, I always call them newbies, you know, or you know, or babies, you know, they don't know. We want to make sure we set the seed.
Yeah. You
know, and these principles are so important, but continue that growth as they move through the ranks. And I tell you what, Tommy, what will make my life is that, you know, and which, you know, I had previous students years ago that have been here and been invited to the open house.
Oh, I know.
Because one mom said, which is really, really powerful, is that you made an impact on my son. Now she told my wife Sharon that he made an impact without licenses and his team. I don't know how he would be. And when you hear stories like that from the past, that's awesome. That we're definitely doing the right thing, and that's cool when you get stories like that from parents, and setting the seed, because this is what parents want. The parents want their child, and I'm sure the parents, any good parents, going to teach their children having humility and courtesy and integrity. But it's good to have it from another team member or another village, they call it, right?
Yeah.
And I want us to be those people. We want to be part of that village.
Yeah.
To help out and solidify. Because sometimes, how it is, or they always, which is true, a parent can tell the same thing, and all of a sudden, the kid don't listen unless you have a coach or a mentor. They tell the same thing, then they do it, And we as instructors, we want to help our parents with that, and with these different principles. So I think it's just cool, good time to talk about these principles.
Oh yeah.
So we had talked about integrity. This is the week we're talking about integrity, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, they're all good. They're all very good, But I really like integrity. It's one of my favorites. But they're all my favorites. I probably say that all the time. I mean, ethics and it incorporates honesty, respect.
Mm-hmm. Good character, integrity, solid foundations for great leadership, and that's what I was just talking about as the example. If we're not an example, how can we expect students to be the example? And hopefully, my goal with that is I want that to trickle down,
and onto our team too.
Oh gosh, yeah. Because I mean, it makes everything easier, But I think it's just awesome when I see students supporting each other. They want, they want to learn. They want to be here. In a school where we don't have to force things at all. It's what kind of makes it. I don't know. It makes the culture.
Oh yeah.
When the students just actively they just want to do it.
They're engaged in it.
I mean, it makes our jobs easier. It makes it easier for us. But I mean, more importantly, it makes a great environment. It makes a great place. A place where we're all kind of working towards the same thing.
Yeah.
On our own, but together.
Right.
Well,
with all these principles, we have similar paths, but we have different paths. But this is consistent. With, like I said earlier in our podcast, without any kind of principles, it becomes just a fighting system. Mm-hmm. You had to have, back in the samurai day, the old ancient days, they had to have, the samurai code, Bushido.
Yeah.
And all that back in the ancient days, they had to have that, the code of the samurai. Mm. Without any of those type of principles, samurai could be very, very dangerous. He's a fighting machine. They had to live their life by by honor and benevolence and all those kind of different terms that they had to live by. So, in modern day world now we're in, today martial arts has its place. Definitely has changed from the ancient days to what it is now. A lot of parents seek out this kind of stuff. Now, I don't get parents say, "Yeah, I want my kid to learn how to fight."
Right.
I've been told that once. Well, I take that back. Years ago, I had that one.
I think you remember.
I had that one dad that said that years ago, back in the days before we opened our school here at Life Systems. But every parent, they want the other stuff. Mm-hmm. We have martial arts to teach. It's a vehicle to teach these skills. That's what martial arts is really good for. Believe me, I'm a karate nerd, man. I love martial arts, and of course, I'm very grateful that I can be able to do it for a living. But, I really, I use the martial arts to teach these skills. In our class, it's so important to remind our students about these concepts and principles. If we catch a student doing something, man, you're showing integrity, or you're showing respect.
Yeah.
Good answer. So that's what's so really cool about that, Tom, is when we can catch them in action and remind them. Mm-hmm. We talk about the PEP system, right? Praise, encourage, and praise. We always want to praise first, no matter what.
Right.
we're not looking for the negative.
Right.
We're looking for good behavior, any kind of behavior. We try our best.
That positive reinforcement, I feel, just goes way further than anything else. We were talking about that red light, green light system, and I know Sarah, she was like, oh, no, that's a terrible system. And
I have to agree.
I have to agree, too. No, I was like, you know what? It's a good point, because now we're looking for it to go down, right? We're looking for that step backwards.
I'm looking for what's wrong. But
kids are always, I don't know.
Kids will be kids, and
kids
they're learning.
And then the worst part is a lot of them are
You have to be their guiding light.
Right. And instead, it should go the other way around. We need to reward the ones that are doing great, not punish ones who aren't keeping up or whatever. And I think that's something that I think we do a good job here. Honestly, I think I like to spotlight students who are doing great and say, Zach, those push-ups, that's exactly what I'm looking for. That's what I want. That's awesome.
Keep it up, man. Keep it up. Why we do fist bumps and high fives and all those kind of things.
Give reward and give out praise where it's needed. And again, they start building up that example. There's they got the integrity. They're the ones building up the example of what we're wanting and what we need in our culture and our school.
Well, they keep coming back to us. I guess we're doing something a little bit right.
I guess so.
And it's a community, right?
Yeah.
And it's about building relationships. We said that in our structured training on Saturday. This business is about relationships, and how we can connect with our students and our parents too. Because without our parents, man, we wouldn't have this.
Yeah.
And thank you for parents for believing in us and being a big part of it. Because they're a big part of this.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is the next 2 months will be. I'm excited that we're able to do the principles because I know you talked to me about that. Why don't we just use our principles?
Yeah,
you said that
I know I mentioned that before.
A while ago, and here this comes along. I was like, this is good timing.
Well, it's perfect because the big thing I try to emphasize on, something I remember for myself, is that I try not to just say it just because we say it, just because we start every class and end every class with our student creeds, like Charlie
Brown. No,
right? You just do it just because. No, I think about it. I gotta think about what am I doing to do those things, and what am I a modest person?
Am I living by it?
Am I honest? Am I being humble? Am I courteous? Do I have integrity? What am I? And I try to prove myself with examples of how I'm doing that. And on the opposite end, I try to make sure I believe that. You know what I mean? Like on the opposite end, try not to make sure I don't believe those things. Or on the you know what I'm saying? So that's a challenge, because sometimes that can be the enemy within, and that can be its own podcast on its own. That could be its own episode on its own thing, but what are we doing to continue that? And then I guess in the future, I don't know how deep we get into it, since I know we're already over 20 minutes in, but I know we
carry on through this when we do 22 minutes.
Yeah, I know, and it always feels like 5 minutes, but I know we talked about also someday revamping, or possibly revamping the creed a little bit.
We did talk about that, right?
Yeah,
we may do that, so that's maybe in the future, but not anytime soon though. So this is a fairly simple podcast, but I think it's important podcast. Talking about this, my end of the day, or end of the night, I should say, is that students walk out of here that at least it's in their mind. It's imprinted in their mind, and they can actually apply it. Because you hear stories like that too, that so and so actually applied this at home or at school, different principles, and when you hear stories like that, then you're making a difference in that child's life, and that's what it's about in the end. Is most of our students are here are children, and that's okay. They need this in the world we live in, and these principles are so important. Basic principles to live by, but I think they're very crucial. I'm excited for the next month, for the next principles we'll discuss.
That'd be cool. I'm really good. I've always liked just using our creed as a match chat. So anyways, yeah.
Well, that's all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Definitely. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
See you.